PR Whiteboard, SOCOM's regular take on the world of PR. Today we're going to talk about politicians and the people, and the Prime Minister's love of idiom, vernacular and the colloquial. So I'm joined for today's discussion about our Prime Minister's love of a sauce bottle with our newest account director, Chris Newman, who's well qualified to talk about the vernacular, given that he's a Kiwi now living in Australia. So Chris, what do you make about the Prime Minister's love of the sauce bottle?
Look, Troy, I've got to admit, I'm a bit confused when an Australian Prime Minister needs to resort to these sorts of colloquialisms to try and make himself look more Australian.
And I would say it's a bit of a problem because in Victoria we would have said fair suck of the sauce bottle. We've got a Queenslander telling us we're shaking it.
Look, here's a guy who 6 months ago, was shown to not have a hair, was a little bit annoyed when he didn't have a hairdryer. I think he feels that perhaps, given that what people are going through at the moment in the economy, they're not relating to him as a leader. And I think he's just trying to make himself a little bit more accessible.
And do you think he's possibly commenting on too many issues that are in the public realm? Should the Prime Minister be standing above some of these things?
Look, all you see every night on TV is Prime Minister Kevin Rudd talking around things which perhaps normally a Prime Minister wouldn't really enter into a debate on. So again, does he not have the faith in his front bench to actually engage on some of these issues? It's a double-edged sword. What happens when things start going bad? I'll bet my money that we'll start seeing other ministers brought in to talk about issues then. And
why do you think that Rudd's making it such a Rudd government rather than some of the talent he's got on the front bench like Julia Gillard, who's very well regarded by the public?
I think this is about brand Rudd. I think this is him about trying to set a tone of voice, trying to create an image, if you will, that inextricably links him with the party. And I think as a strategy, with elections coming up, they will be hanging their hook on him as a leader, and it hopefully for him will secure their future and their path, as it did perhaps with Helen Clark in New Zealand. But we're yet to see when things go really wrong. He's riding still a pretty good crest of popularity, but as we all know, a week's a long time in politics and anything can happen.
Fantastic. Well, thanks Chris, that was sucks of the best. I think you've made a critical point about, will Rudd go down the same path as Howard and we'll end up with Howard's End because the government's simply one brand, or will Rudd actually wake up in time to make more of Julia Gillard? Stay tuned, we'll come back to this topic and a lot more on the PR Whiteboard.